just kind of starting off, like the definition or the theme of this was the joy of illness. And, kind of like people might always think kind of like, how can there be joy in illness? So I know I've kind of construed everything to fit that title, but if you define joy, it's just a feeling of great pleasure, of happiness, which are emotional things. And if you define illness, it's a disease or period of sickness affecting the body or mind. So disease just means dis-ease. So there's actually problems, or there's a block of flow of energy in the body. Because again, coming back to, I think anybody who has kind of ever seen me in private consultation, I'll always say that I will see you just purely as a energetic body. You are energy. And once you block energy, you get ill, you get sick. Okay. So the idea behind this is that that we're looking for kind of like what the body is telling us, like what the body is trying to tell us in terms of illness, or what's it saying. So what we always have to remember, I think, is that the body loves us. It always does everything it can do to help us. Our body adores us. Like, 99.9999999% of the time, our body will always do the very best for us. But remember, it responds to stimulus from the mind. And the stimulus from the mind is what we give it. So if we are constantly giving it self-talk, negative self-thought, self-doubt, if we are constantly feeding it with rubbish food, like with appalling nutrition, well, then the body is going to respond to that stimulus. So it is going to respond in sickness. It is going to respond in health, in ill health, in illness. So we have to remind that there's happiness in that, because our body is trying to communicate with us. Our body is trying to tell us, like, hang on a second, Kim, hang on a second, Janet, something is very, very wrong here. Something has gone absolutely terribly wrong, that we actually kind of like, that our body is telling us to, on a physical plane. Because to break up ourselves into our bodies, we have an emotional body, we have a mental body, we have a spiritual body, and we have a physical body. Now, to me, the order that goes in is the spiritual body is first, okay? And that comes first. And that, to me, like, irrespective of religious or spiritual beliefs, it is about our soul purpose, okay? It is about our soul purpose. And if we try and make our soul dance, I think we're going to be so much happier. Because if we go back to the very, very origins of our medicine, of like where medicine actually came from, if we go all the way back, it goes back to the Egyptian god Heka, okay? And Heka actually just means, Heka is soul, and Heka is magic, sorry, and Ka is soul. So the origins of medicine is in soul magic, believe it or not, okay? And we have come a long, long, long way, maybe for good or maybe for bad, because in the ancient times, they used to treat ill health or sickness with a disease of the soul or a disease of the spirit. Okay, and now we have lost that concept completely. I'm not saying anything wrong about modern medicine. Okay, well, maybe please don't get me started on that, because I could say an awful lot wrong on modern medicine. But like, the thing about it is, like, if we go back to the very, very beginning, we look at kind of like the idea of soul purpose, our spiritual body, like the one that is actually kind of like the one that provides our purpose in life. And that goes back to the Egyptian god Heka, soul magic. So treating the soul is a huge thing in terms of actually treating the body. So an awful lot of times, our calling, our soul purpose, the reason why we look, I have no clue what happens after death, when we die, okay? I really, really have no clue. I cannot say that. But what I do know is that we have one chance in this life, okay? We seriously have one chance in this life. So let's make it a happy life. Let's follow our purpose. Let's follow our dreams. Let's follow our desires. So let's follow our soul purpose. And that is being kidnapped, to me, as far as I'm concerned, by spirituality, especially modern day spirituality or new age spirituality and religion, okay? It actually takes away from the fact that we are our soul, that we are our own purpose, and we can find the kingdom of God within, okay? So to me, the four bodies are spiritual, and we start with the spiritual, and then we go to the emotional body, okay? And the emotional body is really, 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 if we're not looking at the spiritual body, or we're not looking at the soul body, it is a huge cause of illnesses. Because, like, if we think of, like, how do we associate like the emotional body to illness? Okay, well, every organ in the body holds emotions. Like we'll all know the heart. The heart is love and hate. Like, we go to Valentine's Day and we'll see the heart. We'll make expressions like, I love you with all my heart. But every organ holds emotions. So like the kidneys are fear and passion, the liver is anger, generosity, the lungs are joy and grief. So if we live, and so on and so on, the pancreas of bitterness and sweetness. So if we live in a world, or we live in our world, that it's full of fear, it's full of frustration, it's full of grief, it's full of hate, those organs are going to be affected, and they will manifest in physical manifestations, which will then take us to a doctor to treat them, sort of like initially just to kind of like take away the pain or take away the suffering or take away, like in general, it's the pain. I read a wonderful quote recently. It was from a doctor. I can't remember his name. I'm not good with names at all. I'm so glad I can see everybody's names in front of me. But he said the reason we have so much chronic illness in this world is because we don't treat acute illness. We treat it with medication. And that came from a physician, that came from a doctor. So we generally go to a doctor and we go kind of like, oh my God, I have pains in my lungs, I have pains in my kidneys. And you will get, generally speaking, first of all, it's pain medication to actually take it away. And then we might get something to take away the inflammation of what's causing it. But inflammation is a blockage of energy, and it comes back to the original body, the spiritual body, the energetic body, that we blocked energy, we get inflammation. So that is caused by an emotional imbalance. Now, is it right to be perfectly always like full of love, like full of passion, full of energy? There is benefit to having negative emotions in our body. There is benefit to fear, because like fear is based on the fight or flight response. So if we are in a moment of danger, like somebody is chasing us or a lion is chasing us, it's a really good idea to get scared and to run away. But we can't live there. We can't actually hold on to that fear forever. If somebody is absolutely like really pissing us off on an ongoing basis, a momentary outburst of anger will change all of that, and people will back off and people will stop taking advantage of you. They'll stop infringing on your boundaries. So anger has its place. It's not a good thing to live in anger, okay, because that's only going to affect you negatively. But it has its place, okay? Bitterness, jealousy, those emotions don't really have its place, okay? They don't. Okay, they really don't have a place. So small amounts of negative emotion is good. Obviously, if we can get to a place of pure love, very, very, very few beings on this planet has ever made it to that. I think, Kim, you're reading the book at the moment, Power versus Force, and I would say there's only 3 of them. I hope this is not a spoiler alert for you, but it's Jesus, Buddha, and what's he called? Help me out here. Shiva. Okay, so they're the three beings that basically have made it to 1,000% of love. We're all capable of it. We really, really, really are. So just kind of like on the illness of emotions, they will manifest in the body. They will, hello puppy. They will manifest in the physical body on emotions. Okay, 100% guaranteed. The third body in this order for me is the mental body, because the mental body processes the emotions. Okay, and we always talk about kind of like mental health as being a negative thing. We can have positive mental health. Nobody ever talks about that. Finally, modern day medicine is actually recognizing mental health as a problem. Okay, we realize that stress is a killer. Okay, and stress does kill. It kills because it chows up our nutrients more than it gives us a heart attack. Now, if you have heart issues, if you have inherited heart problems, or kind of like it's a genetical predisposition to heart problems, well, then stress and heart in the same body is never a good combination. But the idea that we all die from stress-related heart attacks is more Hollywood than real life. Okay, it does happen, but it doesn't happen in every movie. So how stress kills us is that we have we have 7 types of food. Okay, we have fiber and roughage, we have carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, which I'm sure we're all aware of what they do, and we have vitamins and minerals. And vitamins and minerals are actually the key to good health. They are what keep us healthy. And stress eats them. Stress absolutely just devours them. And they have done autopsies on people who have died of natural causes at young ages. And irrespective of what you think of modern medicine, you shouldn't die of a natural cause at a young age anymore. You shouldn't. Your quality of life might be appalling, but you still should be kept alive or stay alive until you're 70, 80 years of age, okay? But what they have done what they have found in the autopsy of people who have died at young ages of natural causes is that they're completely deficient or devoid of minerals, and in some cases, vitamins as well, okay? So that is a case of nutrition. That is a case of treating the body properly. That is a case of knowledge. That's a case of education. And we'll come to that just now. Okay. So going through, we have our spiritual body first, our energetic body, our spiritual body, or our soul purpose. We have our emotional body, which are held in every single organ. So the heart is love and hate. The liver is anger, generosity. The liver is fear and passion. And then we have the mental body. Okay. And remember, everything happens in the mind. We exist purely in the mind. So the mental body is the negative is stress and anxiety. And anxiety can be defined as just purely trying to control the future, and depression. Okay. And depression is defined as living in the past. But our mental body, our mental health can be so amazing. So if we all lived in a Christmas wonderland, like Kim does, like we'd all be looking around the place going, oh my God, how wonderful is this? Oh my God, this is beautiful. Oh my God, I love my life. There's a beautiful storm overhead, like, and the sound of thunder, it's just so electrifying. Life is amazing. Life is absolutely beautiful. And this is like a wonderful mental state to be in. Like it really is, to see the joy, the happiness, the love, and everything that you do. It's absolutely extraordinary. And then the fourth body is the physical body. Okay, so the physical body is generally the only body we pay attention to in this day and age. It's the one that takes us to the doctor. It's the one that puts us in bed. It's the one that makes us listen to ourselves. So kind of like coming back to kind of like to define the joy of illness is that it's kind of like, it's only then that we realize that something is out of sync, something is not working properly. That is when the physical body takes on sickness, that we actually start realizing, okay, well, we can go to a doctor and we can get these symptoms removed, the acute symptoms that will then generally manifest over the years into a chronic illness, or we can actually see what's causing it. We are not following our purpose. We are not making our soul dance. We are not finding magic in our life, where our emotions are full of fear and hate and frustration and jealousy and all the negative things, but we refuse to do anything about it. And our mental capacity is one of just purely kind of like, oh God, life is shit. Why me again? Here we go again. This is, oh God, really another day, same, oh Christ. But the good news is you have choice. And the good thing about being human being is like we have a choice to change that. We can get up every morning and become very comfortable being uncomfortable and not living the same. One of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite people, Dr. Joe Dispenza, will say that we live a predictable future. And that what he actually implies is that we live the past in the future before it already happens. So we need to actually change that. We need to actually get into a better place. Okay, so the physical body is when we tell ourselves something is wrong and something needs to change. The three leading causes of death in America, believe it or not, is like, well, to list them first, the first one is lifestyle. So it's diabetes, it's obesity. The second one is cancer. Okay, it's been proven, scientifically proven, that only 5% of cancers are affected by genetics. You're genetically predisposed to it, but it becomes a cultural thing, and then it becomes a habitual thing. And the third leading cause of death in America is medical malpractice. So to me, the first three leading causes of death is medical malpractice, because how many times you go to a doctor and you say he'll diagnose you as having diabetes or high blood pressure, and he'll give you pills as opposed to a lifestyle change. Like you'll say, well, you know, if you give up eating this and you start exercising, you give up refined carbohydrates, cut out sugars and sweeteners, and you start speaking to yourself properly, and you learn life's lessons. Because again, from where I work in terms of just my private practice, every illness has an energy as well. And the energy of diabetes, the energy of the pancreas, is that you refuse to learn life's lessons. So you become very bitter with life, and you go, Jesus, here we go again, the same crap the same day. Like, and you get that mentality, so you eventually end up being bitter about life. Okay, now cancer is also a lifestyle choice, because cancer by definition is cell mutation, and cell mutation doesn't happen just because. It doesn't happen that way. It happens because your mental body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body is out of sync with your physical body, and the four of them aren't in alignment with each other. So they end up, the cells start mutating. The truth of the matter is we are made up of about 1 trillion cells each, and every single moment of every single day, some cells are mutating. Okay, always. So cancer has always got the potential to rise in the body. But however, we are generally strong enough, and our immune system is working strong enough to kick those cells out so they don't take hold. Cancer is a chronic illness. Now, if you swim in a radioactive sea, you will get radioactive poisoning, which will lead to cancer. But in general, most cancers are chronic illnesses, and they take 10 plus years to develop in the body. So if like people, then people want instant kind of like, so reduction of cancers, and they generally come to see a practitioner like me to save them, because doctors have basically given up on them. You've terminal level 4 cancer. There's nothing more I can do. And unfortunately, that is, to an awful lot of people, a death sentence. Unfortunately, that's what that ends up. And the doctor told me I have 6 months to live, and that's what they end up having, 6 months to live. But that's not the case. If you're willing to change your lifestyle, and you're willing to change your diet, and your diet, remember, everybody, is more than just what you eat. It's everything you consume. It's your television, it's your social media or socialist media, it's your gossip, it's your friends, it's your newspaper, it's everything that you consume. It's the products that you put on your skin. It's the kind of like the air that you breathe. It's everything. That is your diet, and your diet affects your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, and your physical body and your spiritual body. Okay. So to me, again, it's coming back that all illness is saying to you is that something needs to change, something has to give, and you can get better. One of my favorite quotes, and one of the things that got me into holistic healing as such, was a Tibetan quote that says, "There's no such thing as an incurable illness, there's only incurable people." And if you believe you cannot be healed because, or you believe you cannot be cured because, you've already lost the battle. But if you truly believe that you find your life's purpose, and you vibrate in a very high emotional state, and you keep your mental body beautiful and kind of like enjoying life and looking out the window going, "Oh my God, look at them," like you're smelling things right now, like the door is open there in front of me, and I can smell the earth, and it's absolutely divine, like it's beautiful. So kind of like that mental body is getting stimulated, and everything's being stimulated by the fact that you can enjoy life, and your physical body responds. Your physical body always responds. So what does that require? What does that need? It generally needs a change of philosophy. Okay, so for change of philosophy in eating, in thinking, in seeing what you do, in talking, and in your belief in your ability to heal. Because if you just try and heal the physical body all the time, nothing will change. You might get short-term results, but nothing actually changes. So your philosophy around eating, your relationship with food becomes very, very important. And you have to understand that food, like, again, I've said this so many times. You go into a shop and we have a health food section. What the hell is everything else? Like, what does that make everything else in the shop? 10 aisles of crap, like 10 aisles of non-healthy food. So we got to change our relationship with food, and we got to realize that food is nutrients, and food, that nutrients will support our body. And if we support our body by putting proper nutrients into our system, well, what we are doing is, even on a subconscious level, we're telling ourselves we love ourselves, that we have respect for ourselves, that we have respect for our body. And that's what that is going to actually then manifest in our thinking, which is then going to manifest in our emotions, which manifests in our thinking, which manifests in the belief that we should and deserve better nutrients, that we should and deserve eat better quality food. Okay, it's a closed circle. It really, really is. But where that closed circle has the ability to vibrate up, everybody thinks it vibrates down. It always can go up. So when we're talking to ourselves, when we're talking to other people, it's very important that we remain as positive as possible. Now, I totally understand this world is full of assholes, and it can be very, 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 very difficult. But then you have to look at what lesson and what kind of we have to learn. Patience, if anything, or kind of like or just walk away. Because when it comes down to it, it's our responsibility for us to heal. Like, it really, really is. It is our responsibility, and that becomes an education. And an education is through reading and turning off your television, okay? Because if you think about television, it says tell a vision. It tells somebody else's vision, and it's programming you to actually to have this pure distraction from who you're meant to be. It's actually robbing your power. Okay, it's taking away your power. I'm not saying get rid of your TV, that would be the ultimate, okay, but limit your TV to actually kind of like just purely downtime. But downtime isn't 4 hours every night when you come home from work, and 12 hours on Saturday and Sunday. Because if you add that up, that adds up to about 2 days of every week that you're sitting on the couch watching someone else's vision programming you. Okay, it's the same kind of like when I got rid of my TV, the first thing I did was went on Facebook, and I'd spend the same amount of time. I was like, what am I doing? I've just substituted one distraction for another. And then I was going, oh my God, what can I do? I'll get banned from Facebook. So I got myself banned from Facebook, so I can't go back on that. So now it's kind of like, now I just spend my time with myself, with my books, with my son, with my cats. And like, it's just my knowledge is, because there's a difference between education and knowledge. Like as Elon Musk said, I've met some of the world's academically smartest men with PhDs, but they're as stupid as, like, so knowledge and education are two completely different things. You find knowledge from going inside. You find knowledge from looking inside yourself, from kind of seeing that the kingdom of God actually does exist within, and you will know yourself then, and you will know everything about it. Okay. So kind of like coming back just quickly to nutrition and why it is so important, because it benefits everything. It benefits all four bodies. It benefits the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. I'm not suggesting in any way that anybody turns vegan, but it is without a doubt the healthiest diet a human being can be on. But it is a very, very dangerous diet for a human being to be on, because very few people know how to do it properly. And remember, we eat an awful lot of food-like products these days. So it looks like food, it smells like food, tastes like food, cooks like food, but it's actually not food. So the idea of being able to get your nutrients from a vegan diet, you have to know what you're doing. Like, it really is. But if on a vegan diet, your spiritual level will go through the roof, your emotional level will go through the roof, and then your mental level will go through the roof. So kind of like, but also that will follow in your physical. It's very hard to be allergic to vegetables and fruit. It's very hard to be allergic to legumes and rices and sweet potatoes and stuff like that. The allergies come in the chemicals that you are used in the food production. Okay, so the allergies of dairy and lactose. Okay, 200 years ago we weren't allergic to dairy or meat, or dairy or lactose, but now because of the production methods, that has become a bigger problem for our system. And it's not necessarily an allergy. It's been defined as an allergy, but it's because it's a sickness caused by these foods, because we are no longer able to consume them. The same with wheat, okay? Like gluten, for example, when we started farming gluten 7,000 years ago, nobody was allergic to it. But two things have happened in the last 30 to 40 years. One is wheat has become the most genetically modified food on the planet, and our system hasn't been able to keep up with that. So while that has changed for it to become more crop disease resistant and weather resistant, and to provide allegedly more nutrients, even though what it's done in reality has stripped it of nutrients, our system has not genetically modified quick enough to keep up with those genetic modifications. But secondly, and probably bigger, is the amount of pesticides that are used on industrially farmed foods. And that is what destroying, because gluten is blamed for destroying the absorption technique ability of the small intestine. It's actually the pesticides that are doing it. Like, it's a combination of both, but the pesticides are being proven now to actually eat away the microvilli of the small intestine. There is wonderful products out there to help you, so please contact me if you wish afterwards. But in general, like, this is the problem. So good nutrition is key, because like what happens is only our physical body really is defined as being sick. It's the only one that actually picks up on the sickness. It's the only one that kind of like gets her notice, gets her kind of like, oh God, what's wrong with me? Oh, my elbow is so sore. Oh my God, I don't go to the toilet anymore. Oh my God, I feel sick after every time I eat. So your philosophy around life, your thinking, your eating, your seeing, your talking, your healing really needs an upgrade. Like, because, and you're due it, like, you're absolutely like, and you deserve it as well. Please don't ever think you don't deserve it. Like, that's key. Okay. So how do we do that? There always has to be solutions to do it. Okay. To me, it's actually relatively easy, but I know kind of, oh my God, how long have you been doing this crap? So it's about listening to yourself. Okay. And that is key. It's about understanding that, asking yourself the honest questions, asking yourself and, answering them truthfully. Because if you don't do that, my definition of health is very simple. It's a one-word answer. It's honesty. Because if you are not honest to yourself, well, then you're going to struggle on every body. And what I mean by everybody is the four bodies: the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental. Okay. So if you ask yourself, am I really happy with my life? And you go, yeah, it's good enough. Like, what's good enough? Okay, 40%. Like, if your child came home from school with a 40% average, you would not be happy with your kid. Okay, you said, this is not good enough. You're going to study more. You're going to work harder on taking your phone away. You're not getting this. Like, I mean, there's going to be repercussions of this 40%. But just so many of us kind of like look at our life. Am I really happy? Am I following my purpose? Is life good to me? Am I enjoying life? Yeah, about 40%, maybe 50% on a good day. And quite frankly, that's not good enough. Like, in all honesty, we deserve better. We didn't come here to suffer. And suffering starts on the physical plane, like it always does. It starts on the soul plane. So whatever your religious or your beliefs or spiritual beliefs are, it starts on the soul plane. And the soul plane has purpose. And our purpose is to make our soul dance. And when we do that, we become a much happier person. And straight away, when we're a much happier person, we want more out of life. And when we want more out of life, we'll choose to eat better food. We'll choose to think better. We'll choose to have patience with people. We'll choose to kind of avoid conflict. So our emotions become better. And when we do that, we aren't depressed. We aren't anxious. We aren't anxious about what somebody thinks about us. Oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Or we, generally speaking, stress starts to fall away. And stress is a big problem in this world. Everybody is stressed, and especially in this modern day 2021, it's the most stressful year. Like at this stage, I missed 2020. This year is so bloody stressful. Okay, so the thing about it is we need to listen to ourselves. So we really need to reconnect with us. Okay, and we only do that by looking inside. We don't get that from external stimulus. Okay, like I'll go back to the example of diabetes, for example. Like diabetes is obviously an issue of the pancreas, an issue of sweetness, isn't it? The pancreas is about bitterness and sweetness. They're the emotions held in there. So an awful lot of us hold an awful lot of bitterness towards ourselves, towards kind of like who we are and what we do and kind of about life. So we choose to seek sweetness from outside, external sources. We go to kind of Coca-Cola, we go to chocolate, we go to cake. We feed ourselves sweetness as opposed to actually looking for sweetness within. And that's never going to happen. We need to be sweet to ourselves. We need to actually know ourselves. We need to know who we are to find that life is actually not that bad. Life is actually really, but it's what we make it. But however, if we're always bitter about things and we're always kind of like, oh, Jesus Christ, life is just shit. And here we go again, same day. Oh my God. Oh, why me? Why everything? Why it's always the same? It comes down to the fact that we will actually turn very bitter about ourselves, and we will seek more sweetness from the outside. We'll seek like gratification from people, okay? And we'll end up in the wrong relationships time and time again. We'll end up choosing the wrong partner over and over again. We'll go for the wrong food choices, and we'll know all these things, and we'll know in our gut, we'll know in our absolute true intuition that this person is wrong for me, that this food is wrong for me. But you know what? I don't give a shit anymore, and I don't care. Okay, and this is where kind of like we then have huge emotional issues because we are actually refusing ourselves. We are actually denying who we are. And then what happens is we turn very negative in self-talk and self-talk. So we end up talking like, oh, you don't deserve anything. Well, what do you expect? Look at you. Look at who you are. You don't. But the truth of the matter is, the moment you were conceived, that moment of time the sperm met the egg, you won immediately a 1 in 1 million race. Straight away, that's the race that you won. 1 in 1 million. Your chances of being here are actually extraordinarily slim. So why don't you celebrate your life? Why don't you turn around and go, oh my God, I'm an amazing person. I deserve the very best. Shut up, head. Shut up, mind. Please be quiet in there, brain. I'm sick and tired of you talking rubbish to me and talking negative to me. You have that choice. You can turn off that internal and external influence and stimulus. You really can. You can turn it off. It's simple, but you need to know yourself. You need to connect to yourself. You need to watch the way you talk to yourself. You need to look inside. It's as simple as that, okay? You need to remove all that negativity, and you basically have to surrender back to yourself, okay? And when all that happens, there will be an upheaval in your life. There will truly be upheaval in your life because your brain will kick in and lots of people will see a change in you. Some people won't like it. Some people will move away from you. Some people will fall away from you, but you will eventually find your tribe, and you will find the people who resonate in the same frequency as you. You'll find the same people who look inside, who are healing, who accept more than just the physical body, the spiritual, the mental, and the emotional body. You will find your community, and community projects work brilliantly, okay? They really do. So the essence of all this and what it actually means is that you need to become accountable to yourself for yourself, okay? It's as simple as that. You have to become accountable to yourself. So the kind of underlying thing about that is we need to understand the balance that life actually has to give us, because coming back, like, we only recognize illness when it's in the physical body. And that doesn't surprise me at all. That does not surprise me, because if we look at kind of like how we present ourselves to the world. Now, obviously, I don't have this problem, but like men and women, like, and some men more than women these days, they might spend an hour every single day doing your hair. They spend 30 minutes doing their makeup. They spend 20 minutes choosing their clothes. Now, this is something I'm very guilty of. I'll spend 2 hours every day in the gym, you know, and then you kind of like, you look after your physical body for maybe possibly up to 4 hours every single day. You will choose to groom yourself, to look after yourself, to check yourself in the mirror, to go to the gym, to be kind of like presentable. So that's the 4 hours you give ourselves every single day in our body. How many hours do we give ourselves on our emotional body, our spiritual body, or our mental body? Like, we'd be lucky the other three get an hour each. Like, we seriously would. So if we brought balance back to that and we gave our physical body 1 hour, our emotional body 1 hour, our mental body 1 hour, our spiritual body 1 hour, we'd be so much more balanced in everything. And then we wouldn't have imbalance, and imbalance equals illness. So the idea that we kind of like need to bring ourselves back to actually prayer, meditation, whatever works for you on your soul level is key to actually working on the fact that your mind and trying to control your mind and getting to know yourself and understanding that your mind is belonging to you and you don't belong to your mind is very key. And it's done through habit. It's done through different types of practices. It's becoming how you express yourself to the world is more than just the physical body. Like, it really is. So then you won't get as ill or you won't get as sick. Guaranteed, okay, if we actually put the effort into our emotional body, our mental body, our spiritual body, in the same way in the up to 4 hours every day that we put into our physical body. We have no balance. But that is what things like television and social media does. It distracts you away from your true purpose because it turns you back into a slave to their want, a consumer, you know, just somebody who actually must follow the trend. We're in the age of Aquarius. Things are changing. So that's inevitable. So step up to the plate, everybody, okay? Coming back, there's a huge difference between knowledge and education. One can lead to the other for sure, but in the same tone, knowledge is pure. Knowledge is actually key, and we inherently have that. We can all learn how to drive 100%. We can learn how to drive, fly an airplane if you want, like 100%. There's nothing stopping you. But the knowledge of life, it's to realize that life is so simple, like it really is, but we make it hard. And then when we make it hard, we create inflammation in the body. And inflammation is just telling us, will you stop being so hard on yourself? Will you stop treating life so hard? Will you stop doing that? So we need to reclaim our power. We need to reclaim ourselves. We need to reclaim our health. And reclaiming our power is an inward job. And when we look inside, we invariably find happiness. It's not a simple road, but it's a road worth taking for sure. And when we reclaim ourselves, that is when we shine. That is when we absolutely become perfect. And by doing that, by reclaiming our power and getting back into the seat of ourselves and getting back into the seat of ourself, we will reclaim our health. It's always that simple. We do not need, like, medication, please don't get me wrong, has its place, but we shouldn't have it. We shouldn't need the chronic medication that we have taken over, we become accustomed to or addicted to. Like, we don't need it. We can reclaim our health, which is key, because nothing is as important to your health as nothing important to your life as your health. And it's done by reclaiming your power. It's done by reclaiming yourself. And that's done by recognizing you're so much more than the physical body. You are the spiritual, the soul body. You are the emotional, you are the mental, and the physical is the last. Always honest. Always. Okay, so that comes that you need to be true to yourself and you need to be honest to yourself. That is my 2 cents for today. So let's have some questions then, please, if anybody has any questions. That was explained also well, or you were just totally blown away by that presentation? Do we have any questions? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, sure. Well, it's something that you said before, but it sort of really hit home, you know, about spending the time on your physical and not taking into account the time that you need to spend on the mental and the spiritual side. And that's so important, but we often forget that.
No, like 100%. It is extraordinary
So
because
it's not really a question, it's just a comment to
no,
what
like
you've said.
it's something I've noticed in the gym. Like people go to the gym, and sometimes I go in the morning, and sometimes I go in the evening. And so I got to know people, and there's people in the gym that will train 2 hours twice a day, and they'll do that. Like so, that's immediately 4 hours a day. And those they're generally guys, okay, and those guys they spend like then another hour in the dressing room grooming themselves, fixing their hair, fixing their clothes. So they're spending kind of like maybe up to 5 hours, 6 hours of their waking day, like 25% of their actual day, but 33% of their waking day, just purely on physical appearance. And then when you talk to them, they're a stick of shit. Like there's no substance to them whatsoever. There's no consciousness to them whatsoever. And there's no meaningful conversation to them whatsoever. Now, look, they all look like Adonis. They really do when they go to the pool parties and they take their t-shirts off. Like, you know, the ladies, the girls will turn and go, oh, look at that, check him. Wow, amazing. But then kind of like having a conversation with them, like, oh, Jesus, yes, you are a carrot, actually. That's all you are. Like you have the intelligence and the actual like consciousness of something that just is pointless. So it is key, like, you know, that I can't stress that enough. And thanks, Jana, for bringing that up. That kind of like, if we could spend or balance our life, because obviously we need to be presentable in the world, because if we all turned up like kind of like street bums and robot people, nobody would either take us serious either, and we wouldn't hold down jobs, and we'd be smelly, and people wouldn't invite us to our houses. So kind of like the physical body is kind of like, it is very, very important, because it has become the most important thing in the world, because it defines illness, it defines health, because you actually only go to the doctor when you're sick, and it doesn't actually then define real health. So I think kind of like when we see how we present our physical body as an indication of how out of touch we are with our soul, our emotions, and our mental state. Because if you could spend 2 hours every day in meditation or in prayer, like Buddha was asked, why do you do meditation? And he said, or what do you gain from meditation? And he said, absolutely nothing. So the guy asked him, so why do you do it? And he said, because I lose anger, I lose frustration, I lose guilt, I lose selfishness, I lose so many things. So imagine we could spend 2 hours of every day in meditation or in prayer or just in silence or just kind of like focusing inwards to ourselves to actually reconnect with ourselves. I think the world would be a hell of a lot better place. I think then what would happen is people would start seeing their own worth and their own value and realizing the strength that they have in this world, because it's an inside job and we all are as important as the next person. So like, I'm glad, like, I can't stress it enough, Janet. Thanks for bringing that up. Like, it really, really is so key that kind of like, we spend so much of our day subconsciously in an emotional world, and unfortunately most of our subconscious things are based on negative emotions. They're based on fear, they're based on anger, they're based on jealousy, they're based on hate. So we imagine we could check ourselves and actually start thinking that we could take time to ourselves, and every time we checked hate in our body, we could say, okay, stop this, let's talk about love. Like what do I love? Okay, I love my children, I love my cats, I love me. Okay, and we could spend 20 minutes forcing love into ourselves, so it becomes a habit that all we do is love. That every time we kind of like have frustration, well, then we can stop and we can check it and we can take a long couple of deep breaths to bring calmness back into our life. That every time we suffer from fear, we can check it, we can say, okay, what is fear giving me? What am I going to get from this? Okay, what is the opposite of fear? The opposite of fear is passion. Okay, what am I passionate about? What is bringing this fear? Okay, my passion is, am I doing it? No. Okay, so let's set a plan and action to actually find my passion. Like, it just really, really is. If we could balance our life in that way, it would actually be amazing. It would be fantastic. Okay. Anybody, anything else?
Do you think mental illnesses work the same way then? Actual like schizophrenia or things like that, and can they be treated also in the same way?
I truly can. I don't know if you've ever heard the author Patrick Holford. He's prolific author on nutrition, and he has wrote many, many books, and he's had many, many successes in treating schizophrenia with nutrition, and in particular vitamins. like huge amounts. But I think kind of like the root cause of, like, again, if you know of a guy called Dr. Sebi, he was a Honduras herbalist, medicine man, and he would also describe mental illness and schizophrenia as coming from the soul, and the soul being kind of like having duality in the soul, that the actual soul isn't being integrated into this world, and people having a problem with who they are, and people having a problem like resonating on this planet because their soul is not allowed to dance. So there is many different ways of looking at mental illness, like things like schizophrenia and stuff like that. Like, you know, the mental illnesses that people always talk about is stress. Stress is only your reaction to a situation, so you can react good, bad, or not at all. Anxiety is defined as living in the future, always trying to control the outcome. And this depression is defined as living in the past and always like looking to the past for inspiration or sadness. So the key element there is that very few of us then will live in the present moment, in the now. And if you've ever read a book called A New Earth, or The Power of Now, it would give indication of letting go of ego and coming into the present moment. And if you live in the present moment, there's nothing but happiness. There is nothing but bliss. There's nothing else can get into that egotistic mind of yours. So it's kind of like, it depends on kind of like the problem with modern world is we are distracted so quickly. Like we are absolutely, oh, flashing lights. Oh, a new program. Oh, what's that ad about? And like, it's just constantly like not allowing our mind to settle. It's not allowing our mind to integrate with our soul. So there's many ways of looking at this. So we can't do it through nutrition. We can't do it by trying to bring ourselves into the present moment. But kind of like, to answer your question is, I truly believe that they are all curable, but they do not suit modern day. A lot of them won't suit modern day medicine because they actually don't define them properly. So if you look at kind of like, you know, I'm obviously kind of like more of a believer in holistic medicine, shamanic medicines, earth medicines and stuff like that. They have great cures because they accept them. They don't actually treat them as illnesses. They don't actually necessarily see them as an illness. They see that this is that person's walk in life and this is what they're trying to experience and this is what they're trying to learn. So this is the reasons why they came here, to actually experience that. And then we actually have defined it as an illness. So that may not necessarily be the case. There may be a wrong diagnosis half the time. I'm not going to say that it's all the time, but it can be treated greatly with nutrition, first of all, because again, it comes back to the fact that we don't feed our body with anything called nutrition anymore. Like even the food that is nutritious is about 30% of what it used to be in the 50s and 60s. Like that is what modern farming has done. So please go ahead and start growing your own vegetables before it becomes completely, totally illegal. But your mental health, if you can actually spend an awful lot of time going inside, like, because to me, the order is that we're a soul body, we're an emotional body, we're a mental body, and we're a physical body. So you need to go back to source. We need to actually go back to our soul essence, actually what really resonates with us, why we're here, what our vibration is about. So kind of like, then if we can do that and we can accept it and we can accept ourselves, we don't need to be defined by other people. So is schizophrenia caused by chemical imbalances in our body? Yes. What causes the chemical imbalances in our body? Is it emotional imbalances that are coming from not being connected to our soul purpose, or is it purely nutrition? Like it can be either, it can be one or the other, or it can be both. You know, so if we actually start looking at kind of like, because remember, as an organic creatures, we don't do chemicals, okay? We are biological, so we need to take our food sources, our nutrition from a biological source, fruit, veg, animals, you know, depending on, well, like I'm not gonna convert anybody into anything in terms of your diet, but there's so many chemicals in our foods these days that of course there's going to be in chemical balances in our bodies. Like, and some people are far more susceptible to the others. And my kind of personal experience with people who've had been defined as schizophrenic or multiple personality disorders, they are very spiritual people, but they're not allowed to be because their culture, their society, or maybe their home life hasn't encouraged it, hasn't let it in any way, manner, or form be practiced. So again, it has been manifested in a mental health illness that then is defined just purely as the same as a physical health illness, and it's then treated with drugs, or it's generally suppressed And what I said to you earlier is that we have so many problems with chronic illness these days because acute illness was addressed wrongly. It was addressed with drugs. The symptoms were suppressed. So when you suppress the symptoms, the body responds by giving you a stronger hint, a stronger kick, a stronger nudge. And when that's suppressed again, the body goes and gives you a stronger one. Listen, something is wrong here. You're doing something wrong. I'm trying to get your attention. I'm trying to draw the fact that your diet is terrible and your diet is everything that you consume. So which one of these is most wrong for you? So you're stuck on Facebook all day, every day, and that's all you do. Compare yourself to idiots that you've never even seen, met, or heard, and they may not even be that idiot that you know. And so, oh, they didn't like my post. Let me have an argument with someone on Facebook about something that is completely irrelevant to my life, but it's going to take up 4 hours of my time, and then I'm going to mull over it for the next 2 days. No wonder we have mental health issues. Like seriously, and our brain goes, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? Like I'm okay, I don't want to be in control anymore. I actually have had enough of being in control because you're an idiot. So then it actually schizophrenia can come in, and then you go, oh no, I want to go back and who is this guy I'm arguing with? I want to continue this argument. Like, why will you get off that kind of like media? Like just bring yourself back to soul purpose. Like that I hope will answer your questions to an extent, but there can be many different reasons. But if you don't know who Dr. Sebi is, SEBI, you would do a hell of a lot worse than researching him. He had some really, really wonderful thoughts on what kind of like, even Credo Mutwa had kind of unbelievable thoughts of mental illness, but they're never actually going to be recognized in modern day. They just won't be, because there's no money in telling people to look inside and be happy. And I don't want to sound cynical, but I think that's basically where it's at. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Ladies, since it's only ladies, I would like to thank you very, very, very much for joining this. I had lots of fun. I always do when I get a chance to talk. I think possibly it's just an Irish thing, but I enjoy, as anybody who's ever met me or knows me, that they know I can talk for hours and hours and hours. But I promise to keep this short, and I don't know how we're still recording this, because I actually thought this would be like a 20-minute presentation, because I had a meeting with a guy today, and we were just talking, and we both actually read the same paper recently, and it was said that the average human being has a concentration span of 12 minutes now. Okay. Kryptonite to everyone. Thanks. Okay. Cheers, Giselle. Absolutely awesome. So the fact that kind of like I took that to kind of mind, and I took that to heart, and said, geez, if everybody's a brain span or attention span of 12 minutes, let me try and keep this short. But somehow, somewhere along the line, I've been managed to talk for the last 50 minutes. So I actually don't even know how I'm doing this on Zoom, because it was meant to cut off at 40. So maybe Mr. Zoom is actually listening in and getting some tips. So we will call it a night and call it a day. And I'm going to sit in my veranda and watch the storm, and actually try and cook something before load shedding comes in 10 minutes. So thank you very much, ladies. It's actually been an absolute pleasure. And I will catch you next week. And don't forget, you can just contact me privately, because the reason why I don't like, there's over 100 people in that group, and that was not a private group for me as an admin, and everybody started messaging, it would just be chaos and nobody would pay any attention to it. So please feel free to privately message me, and all questions will be resolved, hopefully. Okay. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Au revoir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks.
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 Bye.
Bye-bye.